Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at something that I think will be very interesting. This apparently is something that teeters the line between mead and beer, although it was released through Systembolaget in the beer category, so it is technically a beer review as far as I can gather. But for this review, we are going to go to Örebro, out to the west of Stockholm, to revisit a brewery you've seen me review a good number of things from before, and that of course is Närke Kulturbryggeri. But today we're going to have a look at the Utgård Vitmölska, which is a wheat braggot coming in at 7.8% ABV. So the braggot is a style of beer that has been around since the medieval times. They are describing this one on the bottle as a honey ale, but apparently the braggots differ from meads in that they use regular malt for about 50% of the malt bill, from what I understand, and this one is a wheat braggot, so I'm guessing that a chunk of that, if not all of it, will be wheat malt actually. So really curious to see how this one turns out. The honey in this one apparently is from Asker in Närke, so yeah, it should be a really interesting one. Närke is one of the old cultural regions of Sweden, from what I remember. This is where the brewery of course takes its name from. But yeah, it should be a really interesting beer to try, this one, and it could well be my very first mead review that I'm doing on the channel without even knowing it. So definitely nice to return to Närke Kulturbryggeri. The last beer that I had from these guys was the Nepa, Neipa, I think, if I'm pronouncing it rightly, with the Swedish with the Swedish accent and things. So this is definitely a bit of a different style from that, and Närke seem to be getting a little bit more adventurous with what they're releasing as well, which is always good. But maybe over the next few months and things I need to try a few more meads and things, because I do like honey flavoured stuff. So in principle, you know, I like honey, I like doppelbox, and I like big malty beers like Scotch ales and old ales and things. So theoretically I should like mead, so something I do need to check out over the next little while. But definitely curious to see what this one has in store for us. This was released as part of the Untitled Chapter assortment in Systembolaget on the 1st of May 2020. So yeah, let's see how we go. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Närke Kulturbryggeri before. No doubt you will see some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Närke Kulturbryggeri then. So Närke Kulturbryggeri, as I said to you earlier, are based in Örebro, out to the west of Stockholm, and they were founded back in 2003, which makes them one of the older craft breweries in Sweden. I think it might only be in Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri that are a little bit older than these guys, because these guys were founded the same year as Utgårds, who have been around a very long time as well. But the company was founded by Håge Wittersson and Berit Karlsson, and Håge Wittersson had a career as a photographer and an artist before becoming a brewer. But Berit is the CEO of the company and also the chair of the Swedish Independent Brewers Association, the Sverige Oberoende Mikrobryggerier Myndighet, if I have all those words right. So yeah, quite an impressive, quite impressive people behind this brewery, and I think they do have other brewers in there now as well. But for a long time the brewery were only producing keg beer, but more recently they began to produce the bottles as well, which really helped the company grow substantially, and this came after they bought the former brew kit and bottling machine of Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri. But the brewery currently produce around 100,000 litres of beer per year, and they're particularly famous for the Kagen Stormax port, which was rated as the world's best beer for quite a long time on Rate Beer. And this beer was first produced in 2004 as Stormax port, but they later aged it in bourbon barrels, and this is what became known as Kagen Stormax port. That is one that I still need to try, but I've never ever been able to get a hold of any bottles of that. So yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get a hold of that one, but I really hope that the next time they do it I can get a hold of one of them. As of May 2020, these guys have produced around 150 different kinds of beer, and they produce a variety of different styles these days. For a long time it was mainly English styles of beer that they were doing, and there's been a few German ones that they've produced in recent times as well, and they also they've also produced a number of kind of IPAs and stuff in recent times. The Rainbow Warrior, the NAIPA that I reviewed for you a couple of videos back, and then they're producing some Braggots and random stuff like this as well, actually. So yeah, an interesting brewery, this one, and I always like to keep an eye on what these guys are releasing, because you can usually get some pretty good traditional beers from these guys, actually, and it's nice to have something a little bit different from, you know, the big hazy IPAs and stuff like that every so often. So yeah, an interesting brewery, and one that I definitely recommend that you check out. So yeah, let's have a go at this beer then and see how we go on. If you want to learn more about Örebro Brygghus, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different things that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. So there you can see typical Närke Kulturbryggeri artwork on this one. You can see there's the little bee to tell you that it is a honey ale, this one, and you can see, as I said, med honung från Asker i Närke. So yeah, like I said, Närke is a kind of historical district, or a historical county, I think you would say, up in that Örebro area, and that of course is where the brewery takes its name from. I think I explained this in one of the older videos that I did from Närke Kulturbryggeri, but yeah, this one should be really very nice. I think Närke is like, it's kind of like Speyside, I guess, in Scotland. It's one of these regions that I think is known for its food and things. I guess it's like, was it I think Småland is kind of similar, because you've got Kalmar Lane and Blekinge Lane, and then I think you've got Växjö, you know, I forget what county Växjö actually is, but yeah, Småland is another one of these kind of historic provinces, if you like, of Sweden. Oh, I forgot to show you the bottle cap on this one before we opened it up. So Närke Inget Bläsk, which basically means like not shite, basically not piss. So yeah, I always find that funny with the whole thing. That actually, I remember that actually being the Bläsk thing. I think it's a slang term, because I saw it on the Tre Små Rum bar in Gothenburg. So that's a really nice little place, actually. I would recommend that you check that one out. But yeah, this looks pretty nice, actually. It actually looks just like a kind of lager or a pilsner or something. Lovely kind of bright yellow colour, almost piss yellow to be honest with you. So, but ironic with the Inget Bläsk thing, because it's not far off the colour if you haven't had a drink for a wee while. But yeah, I'm sure that's not a reflection on how the beer's going to taste. But yeah, as you can see from this one, it's a lovely kind of bright golden hay yellow. We won't say piss yellow for this one, but yeah, the colour of that is pretty damn bright. You could see there was about a quarter finger of a frothy white head on this one. It's just faded away to be a very kind of thin foamy layer. But in terms of its colour, it just looks like a kind of pilsner or something like this, or a Munich Helles. You know, it's that kind of bright golden colour, actually. Crystal clear. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a hell of a lot of clarity to this beer. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but overall, you know, it does look pretty nice and pretty much what you would expect from this. You get meads of all different varieties, of course. I think it really is the colour of the honey that you know, decides that, actually. And of course this one is more of a beer rather than a straight up mead, so it's only got a bit of honey in it, I think. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma of this then and see how we get on. Yeah, I mean, it really, there's not too much to the aroma here. You can definitely pick up the nice wheaty, white bready, kind of pale malty quality to the beer, but you also have, you've definitely also got a little bit of that, you also have a good little bit of that kind of, how do you say, you've also got a little bit of that kind of pale malty, biscuity kind of thing too. So there is a little bit of a McVitie's digestive kind of thing in here, but you can smell the slightly oilier, more oily kind of honey qualities coming out of this one. I like how this, I like how the aroma here goes together, actually. It does smell pretty damn nice. The wheat actually has a little bit of astringency to it almost. You've got some nice kind of, you've got some nice, you really have some very nice honey, kind of lighter brown sugars in there as well. The honey's actually quite subtle in this almost. It's just like a little bit of a kind of subtle addition. I find this beer to actually be more biscuity in terms of its things. But there is a wee bit of a hoppy presence to this one. I think there might be a bit of German noble hop or something in here. There's a wee touch of that bright earthiness, a little bit of floral quality, but also some nice kind of grassy notes to it as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of Hallertau or Tittnanger or something in here. Like I said, the Braggot style apparently has been around since the medieval times. So it's a very, very old beer style. Probably the Vikings were drinking this. They used to love their mead. Yeah, the aroma, it's pretty straight up, but as I say, it is quite nice. There's a few sort of appley or peary esters floating around in this one, but mainly, like I say, white bready, kind of wheaty base to it, a little bit of biscuity sweetness. You can smell the more oily honey character in this one, and there's one or two maybe woody undertones, but a little bit of bright earthiness, a little bit of floral character, and a little bit of lighter grassiness. Really not too much to report in the way of the aroma, to be honest. But then again, when you think about it, it's the same with it's kind of the same, I guess, with sakes and stuff like that. I think the with certain styles of beer, the aroma scope that you're going to get from these kind of things is a lot less varied, if you like. So it's an interesting point. Actually, I'll need to see if that kind of statement holds up as we try more of these. So do give me some Braggot and other sort of honey beer recommendations in the description below. I mean, the only other honey beer I think I can compare this to really is Freyich, the heather ale from my local Williams Brothers brewery back home in Scotland. So that's the only kind of comparison I can think of that I have to this beer. So for this beer, but yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go on. So this one is the Utgård Vitmölska, a wheat Braggot coming in at 7.8% from Närke Kulturbryggeri in Örebro, out to the west of Stockholm here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one then. Slange, skål. That's nice. It's actually very, very drinkable. Kind of hard to believe that it's 7.8%, because it's very light and very, very crisp. I didn't quite expect that from it, but I mean, when it poured, you might have got a little bit of an impression of that, but I thought that maybe in the flavour and things it would be a little bit more kind of just thicker and more oily, but it's very, very clean and very drinkable, as I said. But that's nice. It gets a thumbs up from me, this one. It certainly raises my curiosity about this beer style, and what I will say about it is that it is pretty much very kind of straight up. There's not really anything overly surprising about this. There's not really anything surprising about this beer, actually. But yeah, I say I wouldn't hesitate to drink that again. A half litre, I think, maybe is a little bit much. And this is one I'm basically taking a break from work at the moment to do this review. Then I'm going back to coding, of course, which is, sometimes you need a bit of booze to get yourself through that when you can't think of a solution to the problem right enough. But yeah, this one, it's quite. It's a half litre of this. This is definitely more. If you're buying this beer, probably save this to share with somebody. I'm going to sit and sip on this for a good few hours probably after I've done the review. But it is nice, this one. It's got a nice light crispness to it. It's almost got the drinkability of like a Helles or a Dunkel or something like that. To be honest, you really don't feel the alcohol in this, which is a bit dangerous. So yeah, let's try and break the flavour of this one down then. So straight away with this beer, you feel straight away. There is a wee bit of that. You can feel the kind of a little bit of the pale malt in there. I think there is a bit of pale malt in this as well, and some wheat. But if you go towards you can feel the kind of thicker wheaty qualities coming out of this one too. But yeah, the wheaty notes, you definitely feel the wheatiness building the more and more that you drink of this beer. It definitely has a little bit of that banana kind of clovey, wheat beery type quality to it, which is interesting. There is a little bit of a slightly Weizen kind of quality to this one. I wonder if they've brewed this maybe with a Hefeweizen yeast, actually, because it's usually wheat on its own. I don't think is going to give you some of these if you think about the New England IPAs and stuff like that, the wheat on its own I don't think is going to give you these banana clovey type notes. You know, but the Hefeweizen yeast certainly will, actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if this has been fermented with a Hefeweizen yeast. Let's just stick the rest of that in here. There we go. So yeah, nice bit of Hefeweizen, definitely a bit of a Hefeweizen kind of quality to this one in my mind. So yeah, the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, you can feel the middle of your palate dry out. In the very centre of your tongue, you do have a wee bit of a more kind of caramelly note, but then underneath that, you definitely get the kind of wheaty qualities. And as you move towards the back of the palate, it gets a little touch of an almost peppery spice. You can feel the banana notes coming out of it. There's a bit of a cloviness to the whole thing as well. I really like how all of this goes together. But yeah, I like what this has in store. It's solid. It is pretty solid, actually. It's quite different from what I've had before, as I've said a few times, but everything kind of clicks together in this quite nicely. It's actually quite simple in terms of its flavour profile, but it does work. Sometimes simplicity is always the best. In terms of the hoppy side of this beer, then at the back corners of the palate, there's definitely a wee bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the kind of sides of the palate, you can feel it gradually builds up a little bit of floral character, and it's got quite a bright floral aromaticity at the front corners of the palate. Then around the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit brighter and sort of grassy. Then behind the front curve of the tongue, it's got that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters kind of push their way out of the beer. For me, this one actually does have a wee bit of a citrusy zestiness around the front of the palate, but then other than that, it's got like a wee bit of a slightly apricot-y note to it. It's got a little bit of a kind of peary and an apple-y ester in there as well. But you can feel the honey, and the honey's quite interesting on this because it's almost as if you go between the kind of malty part of the beer. The honey, I think, sits just behind the kind of edges of the tongue there along the sides. That for me is where a lot of this honey kind of comes out, and you can feel it just gradually, you know, sort of pushing its way inward on the tongue behind the front third of the palate, where you can feel it just pushing its way forward into the sort of fruity part of the tongue too. So it's really interesting how all these flavours go together and where they also come out on the tongue as well. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together. Yeah, this is it's just interesting how this the honey in this one actually, it gets darker and darker, I think, the more that you drink of this beer. But I really like what it has in store for us. So it's solid, this one. I like it. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. It makes me curious to try more of this style. As I say, I've no real point of reference for this one. It's definitely got a bit of the... I always find that honey is a little bit darker in the... you know, in things like beers rather than it is normal. I don't eat honey all that much, actually. My Chico, my girlfriend, she quite likes honey. I've tried one or two, but I always find, I find them very, very sweet. I don't know if that's maybe just the Japanese honey and things like that, but yeah, mainly it's quite a nice kind of bright, sweet sort of thing. So yeah, I like how this, I like how all this goes together. In terms of the mouthfeel, then, like I say, this to me is quite, you know, it's quite, it's at the bottom end of mid-body. The carbonation is very smooth. It leans towards the oily side of things. It's got a nice, there is a wee bit of hoppy bitterness to this one, maybe about 15% or something. There is, you know, it really has a lot of Hefeweizen kind of qualities to it as well. It's not quite as thick as a Hefeweizen can be, right enough, but there really is a lot of Hefeweizen character to this thing. In terms of the overall mouthfeel, I'd say it's quite wet, but it's got a bit of an oiliness to it as well. 15 IBUs, like I said. Malt base is really quite smooth. You can feel the yeastiness just kind of thickening up in this one as well. A little bit of a juicy fruitiness to it also, but I really like how this how this one goes together actually. This is pretty damn nice actually. It's quite different from what I've tried before, and definitely very different from the Freya Heather Ale from Williams Brothers, but definitely one to have a go at if you want something a little bit different actually. So well done to Närke Kulturbryggeri for this. I think this is a really interesting concoction that they've put out here, so I need to keep an eye out and see what else they have in the near future. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Utgård Vitmölska 7.8% wheat Braggot from Närke Kulturbryggeri in Örebro. Out to the west of Stockholm in Sweden. Yeah, nice beer this one. As I say, I'm not sure whether it should be considered a mead or a beer, but I think they've pulled off something quite nice with this, so thumbs up to them once again. Check out this brewery if you want to try a few more kind of traditional styles of beer. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Närke Kulturbryggeri, and no doubt we will return to these guys within the next month or two to review their next release in the Utgård Vitmölska. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, make sure you check out Närke Kulturbryggeri.